Good morning, I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keith here in the studios of Civic Center TV located in West Bloomfield. So Tyler and I are doing a little bit of a switcheroo right now. We appreciate everyone joining us as I kind of get behind the mic so that he can train me to push all the buttons so that eventually one day Tyler might be able to take a day off of work. Although Tyler, I don't think people really understand what actually goes into the Megacast, how many guests we have each and every day, what it takes to book them, but also that all the production that goes into this. So today I'm going to start to learn this side of it instead of just sitting over there and running my mouth, because you guys know I like to talk. 15 plus years as a reporter, I'm okay with asking the questions, but when it comes to the technical side, Tyler, this could get a little dicey. But I appreciate everyone joining us today and having a little bit of patience as I kind of maneuver this new avenue. So for those just joining us for the first time, what is the Oakland County Megacast? Well, every day, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon, we interview anyone and everyone throughout Oakland County having to do with the coronavirus. We are 5 months into this pandemic, and Tyler, it's not slowing down. Every day is new information.
Yeah, it's always something different and something new. And even when the news cycle slows down, like it kind of has recently to a certain extent, it's still somewhat action-packed, and there's still plenty of people whose stories need to be told, whose information needs to get out to the public, and we continue to do that here at the Megacast.
So today we're going to start off. We'll give you some quick headlines for anyone that is just joining us. One of the good things that you can do is go to civiccentertv.com. We have put everything on there that you could possibly need to try to get through the day, including all the CDC resources, State of Michigan, Oakland County. You only need to go to one place. If you go up and then go to Megacast Coronavirus, we have the top news headlines up there every single day that we update in the morning before we come on live here in the studio. So one of the big things obviously coming up today is going to be the lawmakers announce the deal for the upcoming school year. State lawmakers announced the new deal regarding the upcoming school year to help get students safely back to class under the Return to Learn plan. Now, in-person learning is not going to be required. That was a sticking point earlier. It's not going to be required. The bills passed Saturday in the state Senate, with the House planning to vote on it today. The agreement gives each district local control while getting financial help and while encouraging oversight with benchmark assessments. So a lot of information still to be coming out on this. It's expected the House is going to go ahead and approve this, because we are too close to the beginning of the school year for this still to be going on. But one of the big issues going into this obviously has to do with the funding, right, Tyler?
Yeah, and luckily enough, we have Representative Brenda Carter coming on tomorrow's show. She'll be with us on Tuesday to talk about this and other key topics. And we're also trying to get other representatives and senators to also talk about the process of this coming together. It is so critical to make these decisions as soon as possible, as the kids are going back to school in just a couple of weeks, and our schools are still very much in process of finalizing their preparations for the fall.
The clock is ticking. The other big story today, Democratic National Convention kicks off today. The Democratic National Convention kicking off, although it is going to be like a convention you have never seen before. The ongoing threat of the coronavirus forced the DNC to transition to a virtual national convention. Starting this week, Michigan's 147 delegates will participate in virtual meetings with Democrats from across the country, discussing party positions and building momentum to use as the fall campaigns get underway. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and auto worker Jared Lang, who works at GM's Orion Assembly Plant, he's a team leader out there and is also vice president of the UAW Local 5960. They are scheduled to speak at the convention. This is going to be something that we have never seen before, just like the rest of the country. The politicians are having to pivot during this crisis as well. Virtual, it's going to be interesting to see. are people really going to be tuning in at all?
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting convention for the Democrats. They're doing this virtually. No indication yet that the Republicans are going to do something similar. They are trying to plan their convention still as well. And Governor Whitmer, of course, going to speak today. And then I saw earlier today that Representative Mari Manoogian is also expected to speak Tuesday night at 9 o'clock as one of the Democrats' rising stars.
So a lot of representation from the state of Michigan. And while they are saying that Biden has a lead in the polls over Trump, we both know that you never know. You never know until Election Day how it's actually going to pan out. So I think Michigan is still going to be a key component going in to this upcoming election. They're going to need Michigan to help win the presidency. Yes. So it's going to be interesting. Also on CivicCenterTV.com, after a spike, the number of coronavirus cases drops here in the state of Michigan. Michigan reported 565 new confirmed cases of coronavirus and 6 new deaths attributed to COVID-19. And that was Sunday. The numbers come out in the afternoon. This comes after a 3-day period that saw an average of 961 cases per day. State now has a total of 92,720 confirmed cases and just over 6,300 deaths. But the state of Michigan has also now performed nearly 2.59 million coronavirus tests. Tyler, I think this number is going to rise as more and more college students head back to class. I know CMU students are now back on campus. They start today. University of Michigan, I believe, starts at the end of the month. I think as the college kids head back to the college campus, they're not going to social distance. Come on, let's admit it.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. As much as you can encourage it, and as much as I think a lot of these students are very aware of what's going on with the virus, it's going to be really tough to social distance in a college environment where so much of that situation is social, whether it's in class, out of class, meeting new people, whatever the case may be. It's such a social situation that's where I see the next spikes coming from. Good news, at least, that in the last couple of days, our recent spike in cases has kind of leveled itself back.
So as we have a lot of great guests for you here today, including we are going to be talking to an educator. What is it going to be like to try to have to navigate the classroom and remote learning going into this new school year? In March, I think it was so new when the schools closed down. So people were like, okay, we can handle it. We understand this is a crisis. But now we've gone through the summer months. It seems as if some parents aren't happy, some teachers aren't happy, some educators aren't happy about this program, but they're trying to figure it out district by district, school by school, parent by parent, what is going to be the best. And so one thing we've talked to parents, and we've talked to a lot of the state lawmakers, and definitely, Tyler, we've talked to a lot of superintendents about how they've been trying to navigate this crisis going into the fall learning session. But what we haven't really talked to is some of the teachers, so we're going to talk to them. Also coming up, we're going to talk to the Downtown Ferndale Development Authority. These businesses are still trying to recover during all of this. And when you have these downtown areas, there's such shopping mega hubs or restaurant hubs, and it requires so much from the public in that interaction, and they're still recovering, and they're going to be recovering for a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for these businesses to get back to full strength, but a lot of these cities are making great partnerships with the businesses, with the business community to help facilitate those situations and make it as smooth of a transition into this new normal as is possible for these businesses to be able to recover after the coronavirus pandemic, as well as continue to endure through it.
So the other person we're going to talk to a little bit later is going to be Coach Ron Bellamy. West Bloomfield, the Lakers, they are such a top, huge football program here in the state of Michigan. And of course, we all know by now the football season for area schools was canceled on Friday, a devastating blow to the players and the coaches. But of course, all of this is in the interest of student safety. And how do you do a contact sport when you're actually going to be, you can't play football without touching one another, unless it's virtual football. But who wants to play that?
No. Yeah, it's such an interesting situation that we have with football being moved to spring. A lot of these top tier players that are getting ready to go to college, they enroll early in the spring, and because of that, they're in a situation where spring football for high school is probably not a situation where they play. So we may not see some of those top level players, but a lot of these guys that are on the cusp of college scholarships are going to get opportunities in the spring, and maybe even more opportunities than they would have otherwise. So there may still be some positives here for some of these players.
Oh, what a roller coaster of a ride it's going to be going forward. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk with the engagement manager, executive director, City of Ferndale Downtown Development Authority. A lot going on in Ferndale, so we'll check in with them, see how they're doing and how they're handling this, and also what's it like for the plan going forward. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the medical director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. We are joined now with Sommer Realy and Lena Stevens, the engagement manager and executive director, City of Ferndale Downtown Development Authority. And as you all know, we're doing all of these things via Zoom. We're all learning Zoom right now, so we're actually going to start with Lena. Lena, hello. Thank you for joining us here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Good morning.
So for those not familiar with your goals and your mission, what do you do and how in the heck are you surviving through 5 months of this?
So a downtown development authority is the goal of any DDA is to promote the downtown, to support the businesses through education, through outreach, through marketing, basically anything we can do to bring visitors to our downtown. So obviously, this is a difficult time, and we've got lots of things, but honestly, it's a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Just trying everything that we think might work, pushing things forward, talking about policy, and honestly, the biggest thing that we've done, I would say, that's changed our organization is a very intense collaboration with the City of Ferndale, so that it's not really a separate thing anymore. It's not really the DDA over here and the City of Ferndale over here, because when this happened, we recognized that kind of all we have to do is support these businesses with whatever resources we have. So in some ways, it's actually been extraordinary for our organization to just break down walls and just say, our job is to support these businesses. What do we have to do? Well, how can we work together?
So I know there's more than, 350 businesses in that small area of Ferndale. During cruise weekend, I would imagine is such a huge weekend for all of these businesses. I mean, for a lot of them, it probably helps keep them in the profit margin. And while it was officially canceled, there was still a lot of cruisers out there. But how did that fare this weekend with some of the businesses?
Well, it's only Monday, so I haven't been able to talk to the businesses yet. But I live only like about a block and a half off of Woodward, and I was down there, and everything seemed really peaceful, and people were distanced when I did see people out and things like that. So I was really proud of how people did do it. And to go back to why it was canceled and that we've had to cancel all events, and that was a heartbreaker. We had to cancel Pride. We have a great art festival we had to cancel, and that's all done out of an abundance of caution. There's some ideas of how you could do safe events, but honestly, we really care about our people, and we care about the people that come to Ferndale, and that's why we made that decision. I think time will tell if the lack of events, are felt, and how we can bring them back next year. I think even bigger and better, to aid in our recovery. But yeah, it hurts, and it's a hard thing to have to cancel those, especially when Ferndale's known for its events.
So one of the things I thought you guys were really creative about, and it was amusing, all of the street signs. Who came up with that? And it definitely, it's a talker, and it gives a little bit of fun in the middle of this crazy pandemic.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So just to for anybody who may not know, we have signs out encouraging people to socially distance using song lyrics. So I think, what are we talking about here? Now I can't think of any off the top of my head. Can you think of one sign that you've seen?
I like the walk this way, talk this way.
Walk this way, talk this way, where someone's got a mask on and then they're 6 feet apart, things like that. So I am back to what I said in the beginning about our collaboration with the city of Ferndale. Lindsay Gunzarek is the graphic designer for the city, and she does a lot of communications work. And I just pinged her on Teams, on Microsoft Teams, because that's how we're all working, and said, hey, I've seen these kind of dopey signs in other cities. Could we do something? Can you think of something more fun? She said, yeah, give me a minute. She put the kids to bed. She had a glass of wine, and she texted me like 2 hours later with that idea. And I said, let's do it. Let's go.
It was definitely very cute, extremely, extremely witty for people who haven't been to Ferndale. I'm telling you, it's worth a drive through just to read the signs and have a little bit of fun with them. So we're talking with Lena Stevens. She's the executive director for the city of Ferndale's Downtown Development Authority. If we can, though, let's go ahead and bring in Sommer Realy. She is the engagement manager. Hi, Sommer. How are you? Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us. How are you today?
We are surviving. The weekend went by way, way too quick. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your role and how you've had to manage this crisis.
Oh, that's a great question, considering the fact that prior to the pandemic, engagement was done a lot in person, and now the world is being reshaped. So a lot of how I go about engaging is phone calls, emails, social media outreach, and just try to boost the spirits of all of the entrepreneurs and the small business owners in the community. This is a tough time for us all, and I would say that largely my role is to make sure that they have everything that they need. I'm there as a voice and an ear for them to share what they need to share with, and we're going to get through this.
So can you tell us how many small businesses do you think are going to survive this, or do you anticipate you're going to continue to lose more and more, especially those 1 or 2 mom and pop type businesses?
That's something, this is why I love what I do. There is a level of resilience in the world of small business owners, and especially those that find themselves in a Main Street type of district. They are all neighbors, and they all work so well hand in hand together that I have to be honest, we haven't seen a lot leave. We've seen more evolve into new business models. We have places that have started up indoor market, grocery marketplaces like Shram's Meat and Treats treat dreams. They now offer everything you could possibly even get at your local grocery store. In addition to that, we've still can ride our bikes and walk around downtown. So our retail locations have all become extremely innovative of how to keep their employees safe as well as the customers, and have set up like walk-up windows at their front door. So you can shop online and, schedule a pickup, or some of them choose to do a delivery. But I would have to say that Ferndale is the space that in the destination most people enjoy going to, and we see as much foot traffic as we possibly could see in the fear that most people have right now.
So Sommer, with all that innovation that's been put to the test by these businesses, the help of the Downtown Development Authority, when the pandemic does pass, what do you believe will be the lasting impact of these decisions that were made by your team and these decisions made by these businesses? Do you think that they'll be even more competitive down the line?
I believe, competition is one thing that always keeps us entrepreneurs moving forward and kind of gives us that motivation. And I would say that I think we will walk away from this with sustainability. This is a time in which we are able to really take a closer look at all of the needs within our downtown, and with our current administration and Lena Stevens, the executive director, I know that moving forward, we will look back at this was a time of transition into continued greatness for the city of Ferndale.
So let me go ahead and throw a question back to Lena. As the executive director, I know that the development on Troy was, getting ready to be kicked off, and there was a lot of excitement around this new development. How has COVID-19 played into that, and has it stalled progress on that project?
I don't think stalled is quite the right word. The timeline is being slightly rearranged, but so the development on Troy, the construction there started in February of 19, and it was scheduled to be completed in June. But like other construction projects, it had a shutdown, and then ramping back up and getting workers back on site, delayed construction a little bit. In addition to the parking deck, it's going to have a retail component on Troy Street, an office component on top, and affordable housing on one side of the development. So it was really designed to be mixed use and not just a standalone parking deck. We have continued to receive interest in the retail locations throughout the last 6 months. So we are still continuing to talk about that portion. The office component is going to be delayed, but it is still very, very much a high priority for city leadership. And we believe strongly that we can still make that happen, and all the infrastructure is there to build it. But obviously right now, office space is just not something that people are looking for right at the moment. But we know after the pandemic, like you said, there will be life after this. We will go back to normal or a different version of normal where office space is still needed. And that's still looking like it's moving forward. And I think the affordable housing piece might move forward actually a little faster than it was planned to before. So things just kind of had to get shuffled around a little bit. But we're headed towards an opening of the parking deck and the streetscapes in September, and we're so excited.
That's some pretty big progress considering all the challenges you're facing right now. So real quick, let's talk a little bit about your other project. What is the Ferndale project? For those that don't go to Ferndale, what is that? And tell us more about that.
So the Ferndale project is a small business that's opened up on our Livernois corridor. So if you haven't been to Ferndale in a while, there's more to see than just the 9 Mile and Woodward area that people kind of know about. We've got Woodward Heights. We have a great set of businesses out there. We have a coffee roaster. We have a brewery. And then on Livernois, we actually have a new business that opened up in the middle of a pandemic. So they weren't even open before this started. They opened up during all of this, and they are fantastic. And Sommer, correct me if I'm wrong, it's run by, or it's owned by Eastern Market Brewing Company, is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's their location, and they kind of going back to what Sommer said, they pivoted amazingly well. They got their patio up and running, and before they could do beer, they started doing coffee. So you could go there for coffee, and then they started doing pastries, and then they had some groceries. Then they brought in a delivery component, so you could get their beer delivered to your door and not have to actually go to the shop and things like that. So it's really fun. And I've been there a couple times with my husband, and they are handling social distancing so well. You leave your order, then you wait outside, and then they text you. It's fantastic. Very cool place.
So we are speaking with Sommer Realy and Lena Stevens. They are with the City of Ferndale's Downtown Development Authority. And Sommer, let me go ahead and throw this next question over to you. So as someone who it is your job to engage with people and these companies, what do you think the future of Ferndale is going to look like?
The future of Ferndale is just going to be a little bit more of what we all know it to be, with a lot more retail. Actually, I can see that the future is bringing we want the interaction of humans. Right now, we are all stuck staying at home. We're not engaging on a social level or an in-person level. And what I see in the future is us needing and wanting that more than ever. So more spaces where you can actually sit down and gather over a cup of coffee and do a little shopping with your friends and family. And in addition to, we're going to have a new park opening up as well. It's a revamped park, Schiffer Park at Planavon and 9 Mile. And I think the future is extremely bright for not only downtown Ferndale, but the whole city.
So just before we wrap things up, though, let me ask you this. There have been a couple cases where COVID-19 positives have been connected with a particular business or a restaurant within Ferndale, and the business owners are having to navigate it and then sometimes closing their doors for a while. What advice are you giving to those business owners and how to navigate these uncharted waters?
We provide a weekly newsletter out to all of the businesses with the most up-to-date information from the CDC as well as Oakland County. Oakland County has supplied all of the businesses with these reopening toolkits that give them all of the appropriate steps and signage to help them navigate in the event that they do experience some level of positive testing. We are very fortunate in Ferndale for seeing as little as we have, and that has everything to do with the business owners. Face masks are required. Hygiene and cleanliness is number one. So I would say what we're here to provide them all of the tools that is necessary by the state of Michigan as well as Oakland County so that they can properly open and serve customers.
Well, we thank you guys so much for being on the Oakland County Megacast with us. We are speaking with Sommer Realy and Lena Stevens. They are the Engagement Manager, Executive Director for the City of Ferndale Downtown Development Authority. Ferndale is one of my favorite places to go. I am a member of the Elks there. Great parking. But also great people and great stories. So thank you all so much for being with us. We appreciate having you on the Oakland County Megacast.
We really appreciate you having us.
The City of Ferndale navigating this pandemic just along with the rest of us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to switch gears just a little bit, and we're going to talk about education. If you are a parent right now, this is the main thing that you are focused on in your life. So when we come back, we are going to talk with Kimberly Abel. She is a math and computer teacher over at West Bloomfield High School. How is it trying to teach kids difficult subjects in the middle of a pandemic? We'll be right back.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keith. For many of you that join us here regularly, we want to let you know we're just switching seats just so that I can kind of learn the board. There are a lot of buttons to push over here, and if you're not a tech person, I'm not the best tech person, it's a lot to learn, but eventually one day or another, Tyler might want to take a day off. So we are trying to navigate this, and he's helping me along, and I appreciate that. Of course, you're watching and listening on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, The Beth. And we thank all of our guests for being here on the Oakland County Megacast. We are going to switch gears just a little bit from talking about the economy in Ferndale to education, Tyler, because this is a tough time to be a parent. It's a tough time to be a teacher. It is a tough time to be in the education world as we try to navigate back to school. So what we want to go ahead and do is our next guest is going to be Kimberly Abel. She is a math and computer teacher with the West Bloomfield High School here in the area. And give me just a second because as I said, I'm still trying to navigate all of these buttons. So we want to bring in Kimberly. Kimberly, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ronnie, for having me.
So tell us, are you ready? School is going to be starting and this clock is ticking fast.
Well, we've been working ever since June to come up with a plan to take what the governor has given us along with the health department and put a plan together to keep teachers and staff safe.
So Kimberly, how long have you been an educator? And I would imagine you've never been through anything like this and you probably never want to go through it again.
No, this is my 26th year as a teacher. It's not exactly what I signed up for. I love to be in person with my kids. I love getting to know them, playing off them when I teach, and this is definitely different than that.
So how has it been for you to shift remotely? And you have a hard subject to try to teach remotely, I think. So how are you trying to navigate that and make sure your students are engaged?
Well, a lot of my students that I get are students that are very into computers when they get to the high school level. They have a want, there's a spark that they have, and an interest that they're interested in going into computers, because with computers, the world is kind of filled with them in all aspects, no matter what job you go into. So it's a very good area to work in. There's been a lot of things that have changed because of the corona. And mainly we have a lot of free things that are out there that we can use and work with and use our students and build their knowledge of what we're learning.
So we know that the high school had already decided that the high school students were going to be remote in the fall. So that probably helped you a little bit mindset wise, but what program are you using and how does it work? Do you record your lessons and then they can log on later, or is it live you need to be here during this set appointment time?
Well, the idea is we're still in school. So this time is a lot different than when we went out in March. So students are going to be required to be in class. We start with them at 9 o'clock. So we've changed the time. Normally we start at 7, and we've given them a little time to sleep in and get up. So we will teach a regular schedule online from 9 o'clock until probably about 1. And then we have some 50 minutes with them in our instruction. And then we have some downtime similar to if a kid is interested in coming after school for additional help, or we feel that they need additional help or have additional questions, there's time allotted at the end of the day for them to come and touch base with the teachers.
Kim, so it's obviously a different experience for students going back into the classroom or into a virtual classroom in the fall. For you as a teacher, you mentioned earlier that you feed off of the energy of your students. Doing that in a live virtual classroom setting, how does that change the dynamic of your craft and what you do on a daily basis as an educator?
Well, I work, and we all work daily with technology. We use technology in order to deliver material to our students, whether it's a Promethean board or a smart board. So things work, things don't work. You kind of do the best that you can and work on things that you need to work on. Students are, they like to be with each other. They like to be in the same room. They like to build relationships with others. So that's another thing that we're going to have to work on, is building that relationship, not with just me as the teacher, but with the other students. And so Zoom has offered the option of breakout groups and things that you can use in order to get them together to know each other. We're going to have to build a little bit more time for building that rapport. As we went out in March last year, we already knew our students. We had built that rapport, so it was a little bit different. Now we're going to be starting a school year where we don't know our kids that are coming in. I am lucky I get repeat customers, so I tend to get some classes filled with kids that I know and some classes that will be new. So building that relationship, whether it's with the students or with the teacher, is going to be extremely important this time around.
Kimberly Abel with us, a math and computer teacher at West Bloomfield High School, with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And Kimberly, as on that note, it's so tough to engage high school kids. Even in a normal setting, it can be a bit challenging. But in a virtual setting where there's even more distractions at play, they're at home, and sometimes it's not under supervision of a teacher in person. There are other things on the internet that they can be doing at the same time that they're learning. So how do you navigate increasing the engagement of these students in the virtual setting while still overcoming those challenges of trying to get them to engage with each other and the classroom and get familiar with the curriculum?
Well, it's not going to be easy for anyone. There's no training that really provides you the opportunity to work remotely for teaching. That was never in Education 101. So this is all new for everybody, and we are going to work and do the best that we can. Provide little short clips of things that we're going to be doing, chunking activities as opposed to just straight lecturing. We're going to have to be doing things a little bit different and kind of think outside the box in order to engage them in our classrooms.
So Kimberly, we talked a lot about the students, but as a teacher, how are you handling this? Would you rather be in the classroom, or would you like to maybe present your lesson plan or your lessons to your students from the classroom, but have them remote? What are your thoughts on that? And are you worried about your health and safety as well?
Well, the requirements at the high school level, even though our students are going to be remote, teachers are going to be required to report to their classroom. So they will be teaching from their classroom using the tools and things that they have in their classroom in order to talk and work with their students. It's really hard. We do have teachers in our district, our middle school through our elementary. They're going to be teaching in person. There's going to be kids that come in. They all have to wear masks. There's going to be some that'll be difficult with wearing masks. It's very uncertain. We continue to watch what the numbers are in our community to see where the COVID viruses are and what's happening there. We're working with the district on a regular basis. I happen to be the union president for the teachers, so we've been working tirelessly throughout the school year, or the summer, I should say. It hasn't really been a summer. This is the first year I've actually can't wait to get back to school, because then we can try it and see what we did and we worked on. And we worked hard. We worked hard this summer to create new platforms. Teachers have learned new things in order to work on blended learning. We've gone all in to try to help and do something different that we weren't instructed to do and learn it on our own.
Kimberly Abel with us, teacher at West Bloomfield High School. And Kimberly, I have family, two of my aunts on my dad's side of the family are educators, one in the Clinton Township area, one on the west side of the state. They're elementary school teachers, so it's a little bit different of an experience than maybe what you're experiencing on the high school level. But I know that over the summer, they've been hard at work with their team, with their fellow teachers in their grade, consistently changing these plans as new plans from the school district came down for fall learning, and as they continue to develop lesson plans for whatever scenario may be in the fall. Our teachers are such unsung heroes in normal times. Over the course of this pandemic, as you've continued to roll with the changes and continued to plan for an uncertain fall, for those that maybe aren't thinking in this mindset, how much harder have our teachers been working now than ever before, and how much more effort are these teachers putting in beyond what's called of them to prepare themselves for fall?
It's been a lot of work. Besides watching everything that's on television, seeing what's happening in other states that have already gone back to school, there's a lot of pressure, not only from me as a teacher being successful in my classroom, but me as a parent, me as a person in my family, to keep myself safe. There's a lot of obstacles that are out there, and teachers, at least in my district, have worked tirelessly all summer long in order to put into place what curriculum we're going to teach, how we're going to teach it, what kind of things we're going to do. We've been working with our professional learning communities in order to establish that. We've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We've had a lot of communication with everybody that's out there, including our community, working with the school district, working with our administrators. It's been a lot of work to put something in play that we think will be a good plan for our students to return next week.
So, Kimberly, just before we wrap up with you, you are a math and computer teacher at West Bloomfield High School. We thank you for all of your hard work. And I would imagine after so many students were sent home unexpectedly last year, teachers have become the true heroes. There has to be a lot of parents out there who really understand and appreciate what all of you do so much more. What has been the reaction from parents for you?
Well, just walking around in my community, I happen to live in my school district, and I get a lot of accolades just from walking around in my subdivision. People will stop me and thank me for what we've done. We're one of the school districts that when they closed down, we were ready to work the next Monday, being online with our students. So we did everything that we possibly can. This time is going to be different. Last time, students didn't have to participate. They didn't fail. That was one of the mandates that we had. Well, now this is different. You're supposed to get all the curriculum and you're supposed to participate. So there's going to be more requirements that are going to be needed for kids to be involved in school. Parents are very thankful that they have been in the conversation. They're on the committees that we've had here in our district. There have been Zoom meetings almost weekly with our community and our parents to talk about the things that we're doing with our Lakers Online that we form for those families that they don't feel safe to come back into the building. So we provided a Lakers Online Academy in which our students can work remotely from home, not have to come into the building. We have 1,300 kids in our community that will be participating in that. We have staff that have built that from our teaching ranks. So they are our teachers. They are The curriculum will be our curriculum that we have in West Bloomfield. The degree they earn will be a West Bloomfield degree. There's been a lot of work, and there continues to be a lot of work that is completed and finished, and the community has been very thankful for being in the know and not knowing things at the last minute.
Kimberly Abel, math and computer teacher, West Bloomfield High School. We thank you for everything that you do. A lot of parents out there extremely grateful to you and all of your teachers. Thank you for being on the Oakland County Megacast.
Thank you for having me, and here's to a good school year.
Good luck, and I wish you all the best. But one quick last question. Are you going to require your students to have a dress code, or can they wear their pajamas? That's been an issue in some school districts. I don't understand that.
That's a good question.
Well, I know that even our staff are going to be wearing some different clothing, because the recommendation is when you come home, you wash your clothing right away. So people are going to be wearing scrubs. They'll be wearing different things that will allow continual washing. So I would imagine pajamas happen to be one of those things that fit into that category.
There you go. Kimberly Abel, thank you so much. We appreciate having you on the Oakland County Megacast. We are going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Coach Ron Bellamy with the Lakers. How is his team doing after the announcement that football is going to be canceled?
I am Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe. We're switching positions here today just so I can try to start to learn the board a little bit so Tyler can one day, possibly in the future, take a day off. We appreciate everyone for joining us, where you can watch and listen on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access 89.3, Lakes FM, and 88.1 FM, The Biff. Also, you can watch us on Channel 15 on Comcast and Channel 99 on AT&T. We greatly appreciate West Bloomfield School District for being our Facebook friend of the day. So if you are on West Bloomfield School District, you can watch us live on their programming as well and follow along. And so much going on right now with the schools, and devastating news for a lot of the high school football players as well as their coaches when the news came out Friday that the season was not going forward despite practices being ongoing. they have decided that high school football sports just wasn't going to be safe. And so, therefore, that season is canceled. We want to go ahead and bring in Coach Ron Bellamy with the Lakers. Coach, this has to be terrible for your players. How did they take the news? And it must have been hard to deliver it to them.
Well, they delivered the news to me. Believe it or not, we were actually headed on the practice field, and one of our senior leaders, Jordan Hoskins, had said, "Coach, is this real?" And I said, "What?" He said, "The season just got postponed to the spring." And originally the date was August 20th to make that determination. So I told Jordan, I'm like, "No, I don't think so. Maybe someone out there, assuming that we won't have a season until the spring." But one of my coaches has said, "Indeed, Coach, this is coming live from the MHSAA website, Twitter page, that indeed that they postponed our season." So, the kids delivered the news to me, and, we just kind of, I had to call them in and pretty much tell them, put their tennis shoes on. We talked for a few minutes, and, we dismissed them from practice. And luckily for us, we had scheduled a picture day the next day. So we're able to kind of be more personal with the kids and let them know, what the news was. It was real, and what was our next move moving forward.
So, Coach, I don't think, was this a big surprise to you and your teammates, especially after the colleges started canceling their football seasons as well?
No, I think once the colleges canceled their season, I think it was, you saw the writing on the wall that it's almost like no way we can, although you don't compare high school to college, but, we're in the same region as our, MAC schools, Eastern, Central, Western, and, you're looking at the U of M and MSUs, and they're, moving to the spring, and inevitably you knew we were next. So, as coaches, we try to do our best just to kind of keep that, that happy spirit in our program. And, for the 5 days that we had our kids doing training camp, we had a blast, learned a lot about each other. And, we were, like I said, we're expecting to have at least 3 or 4 more days with our kids, but it was tough. It's tough watching, high school age kids you've known since middle school. You see these kids crying as they walk off the football field, and really there's nothing you could do for them. You try compassion, but, in the eyes of some of the kids, that was their last time ever wearing a Lakers uniform.
So, Coach Bellamy, Lakers football coach, here with us on the Oakland County Megacast. You went to college on a scholarship, so you understand that it's not just the sport, but for some of these students, it's about their future. How are you trying to address that topic with some of your students?
Yeah, we're letting the kids know, it's, you got to keep your head up, the eyes on the prize. There's still a lot of work to be done. As far as our seniors go, we're trying to get some of our kids who have scholarship opportunities. They're making their decisions within the next week. Donovan Edwards, who's one of our highest rated recruit. He's probably going to take his time to be a little bit more diligent, but I want the other kids to kind of get off the board. It's almost like playing with house money. You just don't want to gamble on that opportunity to go to school for free. So we're trying to advise those guys to make that decision sooner rather than later. For the rest of the kids, we have to be very diligent, very intentional about how we showcase them. We're waiting on feedback from the MHSAA. What are they going to allow us to do with our kids in the fall? Are you going to give us 2 or 3 days a week that we can work with the kids? For us, it's normalcy. This is, these kids, we want the toughest thing about going back to start. This is the first time in their lives. This is the first time in my academic educational life that I'm remote, right? I'm not, I don't physically see the kids, and it's going to be tough, especially for, student athletes. So we want to be able to at least make sure we can monitor them academically, mentally, socially. We want to make sure the kids are doing some things that is going to make sure that they have some success moving forward.
Coach Bellamy, a lot of these kids on your team are on the cusp of those scholarships, and you mentioned being very intentional about how you continue to present these kids that are on the cusp of those opportunities and aren't going to have a season ahead of them. You have a lot of really talented guys that that are able to be showcased each and every year, seemingly out of the blue. Of course, not of course that in that perspective for your team. You know your guys and you know you have the talent there. But in this case, with the season being suspended until spring, you'll have an opportunity with some of these kids to present their game in the spring season. But for a lot of them, they're looking to get those opportunities as soon as possible, and some even do an early enrollment in the spring. So how do you showcase those kids and their talents as they're that close to these opportunities but don't have a season in the fall?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. You know, the toughest part is if the NCAA indeed does keep the signing days as is, the first signing day is in December, the second signing day will be in February, and we wouldn't play football until March. So theoretically, our kids, all the scholarships would be gone before our kids even get a chance to step foot on the football field. So from a coach's perspective, how can you make sure that your kids get the same exposure and the same opportunities to showcase themselves? I want to say at this point, 35 states are playing football in the fall. So our kids are at a very huge competitive disadvantage where eyes will not be on them. So we have to figure something out. Myself and a few other coaches, we're trying to create different proposals and different things to share with the MHSAA. Not sure if they're accepted or not, but just creative things that we can, like I mentioned a minute ago, stay engaged with our kids, and at the same time, continue to develop them so that we can still try to fight and try to help these kids earn scholarship opportunities.
So when you say you're working with them to try to come up with different proposals, what are some of those things? Could it be like, I know it's already pretty popular to do highlight reels with students, but that doesn't always showcase all of their talents. So what are you even thinking? Because this is the time to be creative, right? Think outside the box.
Yes. So for us, we are, all the kids do have highlight films, but like you just mentioned, that's not enough. So we have to create, different movement videos. Coaches want to see, okay, how well does a kid move in space? Has a kid grown? Are they bigger, faster, stronger? So we're doing a lot of different things to figure out, those type of things. Another possibility of us is, can you create a 707 league? To be quite honest with you, if we as coaches, if we don't have access to these kids, what happens is the coaches who run facilities, they're going to take over the kids, and Lord knows what happens if that indeed does happen.
Coach Ron Bellamy with the West Bloomfield High School Lakers. You're not just a football coach, you are also an educator. Talk a little bit about that, and what are you thinking that this fall is going to look like for you from that aspect?
It's going to look different. Coming into the building and, leading, me being in phys ed, weight training, just, giving the kids different workout videos and, having them work out virtually. That's going to be challenging within itself. We're going to need all hands on deck, and, you just got to be very creative. This whole summer, my district did a great job of kind of, notifying us what the plan was, so you're able to plan in advance. Fortunately, but unfortunately, we got a chance to kind of have a test pilot this past spring when we went away for a while. But it's going to be different. The goal is just to keep the kids super engaged, continue to be that light for them, making sure that you have that relationship with them. That if anything, a lot of these kids are struggling. They struggled in the spring just being home. They lost the social aspect of things, and they're going to lose it again. Most parents are not. Right now, summertime, kids are able to go out and spend time with their family and friends and do things of that sort. But when school starts again, they're back on that structured schedule, and a lot of kids do better in person. So, as an educator, the goal is to make sure that we keep the kids engaged, make sure that they're still learning, and try to give them some type of normalcy, just to see some familiar faces. And my goal is to do different workouts across the school building, just so they can, a part of home for them is present with them at all times.
Coach Ron Bellamy with us, head coach of the West Bloomfield Lakers football team on our family of stations, including 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keagle Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. So transitioning back to football with just another couple minutes or so left before we got to let you go, Coach. As you prepare for the spring and as your team prepares for the spring, with knowing that some guys are going to early enroll in college and may not be there, and knowing that it's going to look a lot different, balancing this sport with other spring sports such as lacrosse and track and field and so on, what do you imagine the football season looking like being in spring and being that it's definitely going to be different given the circumstances?
Yeah, I do not see us playing a full 9-game schedule like we're accustomed to. I do think there will be a reduction in the I think there'll be a reduction in the number of games you play. I think you're going to move forward. You know, you may shorten a play a week or two. You know, it's 5 to win the state championship. Maybe you play 4 to get there. I do think the ultimate goal is to crown a champion. You know, you are going to lose some kids. You know, to various sports. I totally understand it, and I support the kids. You know, if you say, hey, coach, you know what, I'm a baseball player in the spring, or I'm a track and field athlete, although it's going to be 2 tiers of spring sports now that football and possibly boys soccer and volleyball is probably going to get moved to the spring as well. You know, now you're going to have an issue with, you know, space, you know, availability of the turf and grass fields and those sorts of things. Because those teams are allowed to do some preseason conditioning workouts. So we understand that, and we understand some kids are going to opt out of football. And, you know, you just want to make sure that you support the kids any way possible and not make it just about football. You know, if it was the fall, different circumstances, but now we're in the spring. So, you know, as coaches, we have to make sure that we're open-minded and compassionate and make sure we support the kids whatever decisions they make. And, you know, as far as the kids going to college, the mid-year early enrollee kids, you know, I've already publicly expressed my feelings that I think any kid that signs that signs their scholarship in December, I think we're on track to have 3 or 4 kids to do that. My suggestion for those kids is to opt out of the senior season on the gridiron and start your collegiate career. You know, that's the advice that I would give them. That's the advice that I would want someone to give me. I would want someone to give my own son that advice. So we just have to make sure that we are, you know, we're open-minded and compassionate for our kids.
Coach Bellamy, we appreciate having you so much here on the Oakland County Megacast. The West Bloomfield High School, also our Facebook partner of the day, and what a blessing, Tyler, for these kids to be able to have Coach Bellamy as not only their coach, but their mentor, as well as someone that can really give them some great life advice. I'm sure that the students appreciate it and their parents appreciate it as well. So Coach Bellamy, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the future. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to shift gears once again, and we are going to be talking to the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. These are hard times right now for some of the kids, and we are seeing, Tyler's pointing to me to be like, no, you're doing something wrong over here. You're doing something wrong. So again, though, we appreciate Coach Bellamy, and then we're going to take this quick break, and we'll be back and talk a little bit about substance abuse, how all of this is hurting some of our kids as they try to cope with this crisis. You're watching the Oakland County Megacast.
We still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. You can watch and listen to us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM and 88.1 FM The Biff, Channel 15 on Comcast and Channel 99 on AT&T. We also thank the West Bloomfield School District for being our Facebook friend of the day. If you are on their Facebook page, we welcome and we thank all of their listeners and their followers as well. So now we want to go ahead and take a little bit more of a serious turn during this pandemic. And there are a lot of different issues with so many students and kids going through this pandemic and this crisis, and that how do you handle it? How do you handle the stress? How do you handle the isolation? How do you handle the change in your schedule? Some students or some kids adapt, others not so much. And so that's where we're going to go ahead and shift focus now and talk to Lisa Berkey. She's the executive director of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. And let's go ahead and we thank you for being with us, Lisa. Thank you for joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm sorry, Lisa, can you hear us?
I can.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's just start off quickly. For the people that don't know what the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition does, what is your mission?
So if you were to summarize our mission in whole, it is we provide programming for students and parents in Greater West Bloomfield to help kids grow to their greatest potential. Back when the coalition started in 2001, it really just focused on drug and alcohol prevention education. But over the years, we have evolved into so much more because so many other issues are combined with drug and alcohol issues. So we do mental health, we do internet safety, anti-bullying, empowerment, coping, resilience. Like I said, anything to help kids grow to their greatest potential.
What has it been like for your organization during this crisis? I would imagine that you're seeing a lot more kids and teens in need right now.
Well, yes, there are more kids and teens and parents wanting information. When it first started, it was very difficult for us because we had so many programs, live programs planned. We take our programs into the school buildings and we bring in speakers and we're right there helping the kids in person. So it was very, very difficult. So most of our spring programs had to be canceled, the ones that were supposed to be in the school, or change to online programs, making a quick change. For our evening programs for our parents, it was easier. We started just developing online evening programs to help our parents with what they were going with, like the chaos of the house with the little ones. We had a program called Chaos Coordinator, or we did a program for we called it Quarantine. It was to help parents of teens that were dealing with the quarantine. You know, the kids were sleeping more and going through depression and they couldn't motivate them to do school, all sorts of things like that. And we also did another program for parents called Building Better Boundaries. And those were right in the springtime. We took a time off in the summer because that's what we usually do. And we wanted to give parents a break as well.
So we are joined with Lisa Berkey. She's the executive director of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. Pandemic parenting. I noticed that you guys are offering that program. Catchy wording, but so needed during this time, I would imagine.
Definitely. That one is this week, so thank you for mentioning it. And the reason timing is everything. West Bloomfield Schools starts August 26th, so we wanted to do this program the week before. Even though this program is open to anyone, not just West Bloomfield residents, but we wanted to help parents prepare for whichever method they chose, the online method or the hybrid method. Here in West Bloomfield, we wanted them to be able to also see that they may pick a path. And, maybe as an example, their path is that they're teaching their son or daughter in the living room and say that's not working because they're distracted. Well, that's okay. Let's evaluate it and move on and change. There's things that you're going to have to change along the way in your path of online education, having them at home, or it's maybe how you're working with them, or whatever it may be. I want parents to be open that they have to evaluate the path and then possibly change it and not be so rough on themselves. This is new to everybody. So parents are going to make mistakes and then move on and we'll figure it out.
Lisa, your organization also has worked a lot. You mentioned previously that initially it worked a lot towards preventing substance abuse issues in youth and teens in our community. And with the pandemic continuing to be ongoing through these 5 months, we've seen in adults that substance abuse issues have been on the increase. What do you do now as we're heading back into the school season? As you mentioned, the kids that are experiencing more drowsiness and depression, which are feelings that do at times become risk factors for substance abuse. What does your organization, in partnership with local school districts, do in this case to up those substance abuse prevention tactics, albeit in different circumstances?
We're going to continue our programming as before, but it will all be online. So in elementary school, we do something called Kids in Charge. It's a drug and alcohol prevention education program, 1st through 5th grade. We're going to continue that program. In middle school, we are going to continue the programming that we had planned. Again, it will just be online. We'll do a vaping education. We do also some drug and alcohol prevention with the middle school students. We bring in recovering addicts to speak to them. We are also working on possibly bringing the Kids in Charge program into the middle school so we can do ongoing drug and alcohol prevention education with them. And then same in the high school. We will continue bringing in recovering addicts. We'll be continuing our vaping education. And we also are very flexible. So if the teachers say to us, you know what, we're seeing this is the problem now, what can you do for us? We're able to find a program for them and quickly bring it into the curriculum. So we're always flexible and waiting to hear if they're hearing more of one issue than another. For example, when vaping started a few years ago, they contacted us right away and they're like, we're seeing vaping. What can you do for us? And we were able to put a program on for them.
Lisa Berkey, Executive Director, Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. Lisa, I'm not a parent, but I do have nieces and nephews. And I want to ask, if I'm a parent and I'm noticing a shift in different attitudes of my student or my child, how do I know when they have a problem? And how do I know it's just them going through their teen years and being difficult teens?
I would say if you have any concern at all after you've talked with them, that I would consult a therapist. It's hard for a parent to know, and with anybody, if you work with someone every day, you may not notice something that's changed in them, but someone that sees them a few weeks at a time will say, hey, you lost weight, or you got your hair cut, or whatever. So being with someone all the time makes it very difficult to notice. But if you have that feeling inside, that little something bothering you, I think at that point you should have an evaluation with a therapist.
So we are speaking with Lisa Berkey, Executive Director, Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. A lot of organizations during this pandemic are seeing the need for their services rise, but yet funding is always an issue. How is your organization in that area, and are you okay, or are you seeing additional resources come in because more and more people are using your services?
So our fundraiser was canceled or postponed because it was March 20 something, the week of March 20 something. So we canceled that. We have it tentatively scheduled for October, but it does look like that will be canceled as well. And if that is, we will be putting all of our auction and raffle items on an online website, so we can still try to earn some money. It's very questionable. We get funding from Oakland County Health Network, so we start our budgeting year starts in October. So we will hear shortly if Oakland County, as an example, is able to help us in the same manner that they've helped us before. We also have hospitals that are our sponsors, and we all know that hospitals are having financial issues as well. So we'll have to wait and see if they'll be able to continue funding us. So with our budget year starting in October, we're still up in the air knowing what that will be. And you're right, we're going to just have to continue programming and being financially responsible and doing our best, because the students and the parents need us, so they need the programming. So we're just going to have to continue and hopefully be able to provide what they need from us.
So you have so much experience in this area. Are you worried kids are slipping through the cracks during this pandemic because maybe people aren't recognizing their need, or they're going into a depression, or they just don't know where to find resources?
I'm concerned about everybody during the pandemic, and not just kids. I think adults too, are going through what you said. We know that staying in the houses have caused more marital issues and family issues, because when you put everybody in the same house under quarantine for a long period of time, that's going to happen. So I'm concerned about everybody. I do know that here in West Bloomfield that they are working very hard in the schools to have programming for the kids. They've been in touch with all the kids. They're great. Just like the interview you had beforehand with Ron, and you mentioned that he's working with the kids. He's keeping his eye out on those kids, those football players as well. And we're very lucky, the community we live in. There's lots of people watching out for these kids, but it takes the village, and it takes all of us to keep our eyes and ears open so that nobody does slip through the cracks.
It takes a village. Lisa, before we let you go, anything that maybe we didn't touch on that you want to add, or can you just share how people can reach out to your organization if maybe they're listening to this or watching this and they think possibly their kid needs some help?
Sure. Our website is www.gwbcoalition.org. And on there's a variety of information about mental health, alcohol, marijuana, prescription drugs, vaping. My email's on there, but there's all sorts of information. There's also 21 coalitions in Oakland County, and there's you'll see on our website, it will connect you to the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, and they list all the coalitions. So if you're not just from West Bloomfield and you want to know if there's a coalition in your area, you can find it there. And please, if you know anybody who wants to attend pandemic parenting, like you mentioned, it's this Thursday at 7:30, and there is a link on our website as well to sign up.
Thank you so much. We appreciate having you on the Oakland County Megacast, but we also appreciate greatly for everything that you and your organization does for all of us here in the greater West Bloomfield area. You're watching and listening to Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM and 88.1 FM The Biff. The Oakland County Megacast will take a quick break, and when we come back, how one person is making a difference overseas. We'll be right back.
Hi. My name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township.
We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keith, the one and only magical Tyler Keith. Tyler, I don't think people understand exactly all that you do for Civic Center TV and all the great people here in the greater West Bloomfield area. He is like a one-man magical machine when it comes to everything, not just production-wise, but also your knowledge of all the people and all the issues here in the greater West Bloomfield area. So it's been great to work with Tyler, and I appreciate all of his help and apologize for all the technical delays and mishaps as I try to work the board just so that eventually Tyler may want to take a day off, although we don't want to let him do that. So we are going to kind of shift a little bit now, and it was August 4th, Tyler, and I think we all watched the video of the explosion in Beirut with horror, and we're watching from thousands of miles away. But for people that know people in that region, watching from such a distance adds to the fear and to the horror as you wonder, are your loved ones safe? What area is this impacting and what is actually going on? But despite being all the way over here in Oakland County, a local med student got involved. And we are going to go ahead now and go to, I'm going to do this. So we are joined now by Majd Faraj, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And again, I apologize because, as I said, I'm trying to learn the board and do these that's little board dance as we push this button, then that button, and then talk about all the great work that you are doing. You are an amazing story outside of what you're doing for Beirut, but give our listeners and our viewers just a little bit about your background and where you came from.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Majd Faraj, so you were close. I'm a second-year medical student, and I go to Oakland University William Beaumont School of Medicine. I came here in the U.S. about, I want to say 5 years ago. So I was born and raised in Beirut for 18 years, and then I finished high school there and everything, and came here for undergrad. Went to University of Michigan, and then went to med school.
How did you decide to come to the States, and going through a pandemic as a med student, what's that been like?
Yeah, so coming to the States was kind of a plan growing up, because I am Lebanese American, and I had some family in Michigan. Now they moved to California, and my other family's in Lebanon, so it just worked out to come to Michigan. And being in a pandemic as a medical student is definitely very interesting. There has been a lot of shifts with online learning and all of that, and social distancing, while trying to still, learn like physical exams and everything that requires actual human contact. So it's definitely an experience, but I think my school has been doing a great job trying to kind of maneuver through the pandemic.
So let's go back quickly to the blast on August 4th when you saw the video. What was going through your mind? Your heart must have sank.
Exactly. So it's very much an understatement to say that my heart think. I actually, the day before I was, I stayed up because I was, studying for my, studies and all of that. And then I woke up on the video. I wasn't really aware what happened. So I woke up on the video and I thought it was just a fire at first, but then you see how, the explosion happens and you see kind of the radius of it. So I immediately, honestly, just screamed. That was the first reaction. And I tried to call my parents because my mom and dad actually live in Beirut currently. So, and those like split seconds of wondering whether, like you said, like your loved ones are okay, if they're alive, that just, I would not wish this on anybody. It's just a horrible feeling.
Since then, you've been involved to try to raise money, to try to help the people of Beirut and the victims of not only this catastrophe, but also COVID-19. Talk a little bit about what you've done and the outpouring of support from the Metro Detroit community.
Yeah, so just to clarify, actually, the efforts to raise funds actually started way before. It started in July 6th, like you mentioned, for COVID relief. So I know, I have connections in Lebanon. Obviously, my parents are there. I have a lot of friends there, a lot of connections there. So I do know that they have been passing through some economic crises currently. And with the pandemic and everything, it's just been getting worse. So I gathered up kind of this idea to start this fundraiser to send medical supplies through the World Medical Relief Program in Southfield, Michigan, which is a nonprofit organization, to send it to Rafik Hariri University Hospital in Beirut, which is kind of the main COVID treatment center in Lebanon. They've been, facing some power outages, not having enough medical supplies, running low on them. So I contacted the CEO, Dr. Firas Abyad, and we kind of, thought of this process. So it started July 6th, but then obviously once the explosion happened, we had an outpour of support, which is, I always say, is bittersweet. It's nice to have the support, but it's also bitter because of the circumstances. But we did have about, I think we gathered $23,000 in 5 hours, which is amazing. And then, we gathered almost 4 times as much as our main goal was. Our main goal was to gather $15,000 to send one shipment. But right now we're about $71,000. So we're up to 4 times as much as we need. So we can send 4 times as much supplies.
So all that funding that is being put into this fundraiser and going toward those supplies, what are some of those supplies that are going to be donated to the people of Lebanon, to this hospital, so that they can best treat the people for COVID-19, of course, for the explosion and so on?
Right. So the best kind of approach to this, and that happened through World Medical Relief, they have an application process, which we send to the hospital, first of all, to make sure that it's, an actual hospital, that it's nonprofit and all of that stuff, that kind of screening. And also it has a bunch of different supplies that they can choose from. So it's better for them to tell me what they want rather than me just sending things that I think they would need. So they chose a lot of different supplies. Some of them help, COVID relief, like you mentioned. A lot of them are surgical equipment. So we were sending all of that as well in bulk amounts. And in addition to all of that, actually, Dr. George Sampson, who's the head of World Medical Relief, actually dedicated 2 weeks of World Medical Relief just for Lebanon. So they stopped all shipments to other countries and redirected them to Lebanon. So this was a great help because we can send them even more supplies than we intended. So there's as I mentioned, surgical equipment, some, supplies for COVID treatment. So there's also a lot of, crutches, wheelchairs. There's also patient beds, actually. There's 12 patient beds that we're sending. So there's a bunch of different supplies.
Majd Faraj, he's a student at Oakland University William Beaumont School of Medicine. We're having an issue with supplies here, or even trying to get things shipped to us. What is the delay, and what has that process been? Not just gathering the supplies, but just trying to get them to Beirut and to the people that need it, and in a speedy manner.
Exactly. So again, this process, and thankfully World Medical Relief is a very established organization. They have an experience with this. So they work with a specific shipping company that sends them by ship. So we were planning on doing, sending them by plane or something like that, but that would not be the best optimal way to do that. And the reason why that is because if you send them by plane, and due to all the COVID regulations and restrictions, they will get stuck in Europe for the same amount of time that the ship will take to dock in Lebanon. So we're sending them by ship. It might take more time than sending them directly to Beirut, but that's the best option that we have currently.
How has this changed how you approach medicine and what you want to do with your future? Do you feel like you're on the right path? And is it hard for you not to be over there right now?
Yeah, it definitely is very hard not to be there. I think I echo all Lebanese people when I say that we all feel like we, physically may be in different places in the world, but with our heart and soul, we are in Beirut. And we feel with all our, brothers, sisters, friends, and family there. And as opposed, based on your question on my approach to medicine, so the reason why I got into medicine in the first place was because I want to kind of bridge global healthcare systems, to bridge them, to help more, help them support each other, help a lot of, communication between healthcare systems around the world. So this has been very, very in place with what I intended to do with my medical degree. So I'm very big on research. I'm very big on helping different parts of the world, and really not being so focused on just your surrounding region, because really, especially now with COVID and everything happening in the world, we really are realizing how we're all interconnected.
So let me ask you, you did a GoFundMe page. What is that number up to? And if someone is listening or watching, how can they help you as well?
Yeah, so the number last time I checked was $71,500 almost. So the goal right now is to go up to 75,000. And the reason that is to send another shipment to Lebanon. We're already sending two got sent to Lebanon. There's two that are on the way. We are having volunteers every day, except for Sundays, in the World Medical Relief headquarters, helping with packaging, helping with moving stuff around, and putting everything in the containers. So definitely for students or anybody really that wants to help, they can go to that headquarters and obviously email them or call them first at volunteer@worldmedicalrelief.org in order to kind of maintain COVID restrictions in the area. But you can definitely help in that way. You can also help with donating or at least sharing the fundraiser for sure, because word of mouth really helps with this. It's on GoFundMe, and it's you can kind of search it by saying Medical Relief to Lebanon, and it's organized by me, so you can find my name is Majd Faraj. And you can either donate there, as I mentioned, or you can just share it so that other people who can donate would do so.
Majd Faraj with us on the Oakland County Megacast, a student at the Oakland University William Beaumont School of Medicine, been raising money to send supplies, medical supplies, to Beirut for the COVID-19 efforts, as well as the efforts in recovery of the recent explosion in Beirut, Lebanon. And Majd, you said that a couple of those shipments have already arrived. There's others that are in transit as we speak, and with these continued funds coming in through the GoFundMe, those are going to continue. What's the response been? Have you had any response so far from people on the front lines in Beirut about how these supplies have been put to use and how helpful they've been in the response to COVID and the explosion?
Mm-hmm. So just to clarify, so they have been shipped from here on, I believe it was Tuesday and Friday. So those are the two shipments, but they still have not reached Beirut yet. Again, it's going by ship, so It might take some time. But once they reach there, I believe there will be a reporter from here from the U.S. going there to kind of document the whole situation. There's going to be pictures, videos, just to document where everything is going. I have been in direct contact with Dr. Firas Abiad, and he has been mentioning how, obviously they need more help now than before. So we're hoping, they do help kind of relieve some of the stress in the healthcare sector in Lebanon.
We have such a big community here in Metro Detroit with Lebanese Americans. How important has that been for you to come from Beirut over to the States and supporting you and getting through your program? Because med school, it's not easy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. So med school can be a little tough, especially in a pandemic. And everything going on, and then add, the stress of an actual catastrophe back home. So that has been very stressful for sure. And just knowing that there is this great community here in Detroit, in the Metro Detroit area, with Lebanese Americans and also non-Lebanese Americans, really Arab Americans as well. and non-Arabs as well. So I've had a lot of support from my peers, for example, in my class, who texted me just asking if I'm doing well. Our dean of our med school also kind of checked up on us, and other obviously Arab Americans, Lebanese Americans. Lebanese Americans really share this grief together. So it's really nice to have other people who are there to support as well. So it's been a great help.
So I will say, what advice would you give to someone that is sitting at home and they see a disaster like this happen, not just in Beirut, but anywhere? How have you been able to take on an issue and go forward despite feeling like you're just an individual?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think, with everything that happened, I really did feel, paralyzed at first. I could not really process what happened. I was numb for a couple of days, but I didn't really get the time to grieve or think of anything. I just knew that, action should be done right then and there. So I would say just, think of what is the best option to do in this case, and think logically, really, because we all, have emotions. We all have very strong emotions regarding what's happening around the world, but we really need to think logically as to what is the best solution or what I can do to help, rather than just, complaining or sharing, certain emotions, not to discredit, obviously, everybody's expression. But I think it's very, important to think logically in these situations and think, what is the next step to do in order to alleviate the suffering wherever it may be.
So, Majd, before we let you go, just another couple minutes, anything else, any other important information that we should know about the efforts to help the people on the front lines in Beirut, or any other ways that the people of our local community can help, or any other information that would be helpful for our audience to know?
Yeah, so there has been a lot of support going to Beirut, whether it be on an international level or on a local level. There has been a lot of initiatives. So if you would like to help in any way, there's a lot of initiatives that help, the Red Cross in Lebanon and all of that. And those are very, valid and very secure. So if you can help, please do so. If you can't, just keep Beirut in your thoughts and prayers. And again, if anybody wants to specifically help sending the medical supplies to Lebanon, they can contact World Medical Relief and get to know this amazing program. And it's here locally, it's in Southfield. And they're making really great changes in the world. So definitely help us out if you can. And again, just keep Beirut and Lebanon in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Oakland County Megacast, and thank you so much for what you're doing. And you're an inspiration, not just your future plans of being a medical doctor, but also you are an inspiration to show that we can all make a difference. Just one step at a time. You care about an issue. You follow through on that issue. You don't stop to think about all the reasons why you shouldn't help. You go ahead and you just help. So one person here in Metro Detroit making a huge difference for all the people back in his home country. And we thank you so much and wish you all the best of luck on your medical careers. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, Michigan Festival and Events. Boy, have they taken a hit during this pandemic. We're going to talk to the executive or president and the CEO and see how they're surviving this. And is there a future? Are all fall festivals going to be off, or can we go ahead and navigate it through this pandemic? You're listening and watching to the Oakland County Megacast.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue. But one thing we can all agree on, to help stop the spread of COVID-19, wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so. Those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hello and welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe. And we appreciate you tuning in and listening today to the Oakland County Megacast. And we also want to thank the West Bloomfield School District for being our Facebook friend of the day, allowing us to go live to their followers as we continue to share all things COVID-19 related throughout Oakland County as we continue to manage this pandemic 5 months into this. And I'll tell you what, the Michigan Festival and Events Association, if you were at a festival this year, they've really taken a hit. And for so many of us, going to a festival, St. Mary's Festival, I mean, it's just what we do. We plan our summers around these things, but a lot of them have been canceled as we head into this pandemic, and we continue to go ahead and manage this pandemic. But real quick, before we speak with the president and CEO of the Michigan Festival and Events Association, we want to go ahead and bring you up to date on all of our headlines. If you go to civiccentertv.com, you'll find everything you need to know regarding to the COVID-19 here in the greater Oakland County area. Just go to coronavirus, and each and every morning we go ahead and we will update our headlines for you. One of the big ones today, lawmakers are announcing the deal for the upcoming school year. State lawmakers announced a new deal regarding the upcoming school year to help get students safely back to class under the Return to Learn plan. In-person learning is not going to be required. This has been a sticking point in these negotiations. The bills passed Saturday in the state Senate, with the House planning to vote today. The agreement does give each district local control while getting financial help and while encouraging oversight with benchmark assessments. Also making news on civiccentertv.com, Democratic National Convention kicks off today with, it's going to be a much different convention than what we have seen in years past, though. The ongoing threat of the coronavirus forced the DNC to transition to a virtual national convention. Starting this week, Michigan's 147 delegates will participate in virtual meetings with Democrats from across the country, discussing party positions and building momentum to use as the fall campaigns ramp up. Of course, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is expected. She is scheduled to speak tonight. Also speaking at the conventions will be automaker Gerald Lang, who works at GM's Orion Assembly Plant as a team leader, and he's also the vice president of UAW's Local 5960. So Michigan getting a lot of attention, Tyler, as we head into the national convention.
Yeah, it's a key swing state in the general election, and it's going to be a key state. It's got a lot of up-and-comers in the Democratic Party. Of course, Governor Gretchen Whitmer was a vice presidential candidate. Representative Mari Manoogian has been named one of their rising stars, and she'll speak there on Tuesday as well. A lot of people from Michigan are becoming key players in the Democratic Party, and that's why we're going to be seeing them on the convention, the virtual convention this week.
Virtual, I just can't get used to it. Also making news on Civic Center TV. After a spike, the number of coronavirus cases drops. Here in the state, Michigan reported 565 new confirmed cases of coronavirus and 6 new deaths attributed to COVID-19. And that was reported Sunday. The new numbers come out every day in late afternoon around 2:30, 3 o'clock. Now, this comes after a 3-day period that saw an average of 961 cases per day. State now has a total of 92,720 confirmed cases and just over 6,300 deaths. Meanwhile, the number of tests performed way up here. We're at about 2.5 million coronavirus cases, or the tests being done here in the Oakland County area, or throughout the state of Michigan. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be talking fairs, festivals, and exactly what this pandemic has meant to that industry. We'll be right back after this break.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside the one and only Tyler Keefe as we bring you all the latest news COVID-19 related throughout Oakland County and the state of Michigan as we all continue to navigate this crisis. Our last guest today is going to be Michael Szukhent. He's the president and CEO of the Michigan Festival and Events Association. Talk about a hard time for your industry right now, Mike. Hi, how are you and how is it going?
It is going as well as can be expected. We've learned to say, let it go. 2020 is fine. Let's focus on 2021.
So I know you guys are a nonprofit industry that tries to help get the festivals and fairs and things of that nature off the ground and up and running. How are you navigating some of these fairs, the organizers? What are you telling them as fair and festival is canceled week after week?
Well, the first message that we gave everyone is that they needed to figure out what their own go, no-go date was. That was something that came out early when the Traverse City canceled their National Cherry Festival. Everybody was up in arms over the fact that, well, if Traverse City canceled, then we need to cancel also. And that was not the case because everybody's got their own go, no-go date. You know, when do you have to make a deposit? When do you have to make a commitment? When do you have to, what have you promised your sponsors? So we tell everybody to wait as long as you can before making a cancellation. We have had some communities that have suffered from some cancellation remorse because they canceled something early on in the season and then found out that they were able to have the event after all with the parameters in place to be able to do it safely. And so my advice has been, and our advice has always been, wait as long as you possibly can.
So, Mike, how can you safely have a festival during this time? What are you telling some of your members?
Well, a lot of that has to do with where the festival is. If you're up in the northern part of the Mitten, or if you're in the Upper Peninsula, you can have up to 250 people for a gathering. So as long as you can practice social distancing and everyone's wearing their masks, you've got hand washing stations, sanitizer. The other thing is you check with your local law enforcement as far as the plan that you have in effect to run your event. Don't ask them to create the plan for you. You create the plan and ask them if this plan makes sense and ask them for assistance. Same thing goes with the local county health departments. Give them what your plan is on how you're going to keep everyone safe, and let them give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Down here in southern Michigan, we've got some extra challenges. We can only have 100 people for an outdoor event, so that becomes a little more of a challenge. Golf outings has still been successful as long as you don't have 100 golfers on the course at one time. You're able to do that. So they're doing things with drive-in theaters. They're doing things with movies in the park and concerts in the park, situations where they got people separated. If you're in the carnival industry, it has been a very difficult year for carnivals. The only thing that the carnivals have been able to do is using their food concessions. They've been participating in food truck rallies and things like that. So it's been tough. There's no doubt about it.
Mike, as time goes on and these and COVID-19 restrictions are slowly but surely loosened and more people are aware of what they can do out in the community to keep themselves and others safe, do you expect that some semblance of normalcy in these festivals and events will return, or do you imagine for the remainder of this year and earlier on into 2021 that a lot of these events are going to be scaled back to some extent or continue to be virtual?
There are virtual events that are going on, and the virtual events are fine for the event. The challenge is that, let me go back a little bit. Tourism in the state of Michigan is a $24.7 billion a year industry, and the festivals and events are $1 billion a year industry. That's $1 billion impact to the local economy within the state of Michigan. From that, you have your nonprofits that are benefiting over $15 million in donations that come from those. That's what's virtual event, because you can still have the event, but you're not having the economic impact on the community. The carnival or the festival is going on in downtown USA in the state of Michigan isn't going on, so you're not getting the support that the local merchants would have gotten. You're not getting the sponsorship, and therefore you're not getting the dollars to support the local nonprofits that depend so much on those events. What's going to happen going forward? As science gets a better handle on how to fight this disease, this virus, how they're able to come to a vaccine, how we learn to live with this, I think that will bring us back to normal. How long will that happen? I'm keeping my fingers crossed and saying that next spring will be there. What is that going to do for our winter activities, our fall, our harvest festivals, our pumpkin festivals, our Halloween events, our Thanksgiving events, the Thanksgiving Day Parade in Detroit, the largest outside of New York City. How is that going to affect that? Those are all good questions. I don't know where we're going to be on that. Obviously, the cold weather, how does the virus withstand the cold temperatures? Does it only want to be in the warm environment of the inside of a building or something? We don't know. I mean, that's almost as frustrating as the virus itself is what we don't know.
We are all trying to navigate this together. We're talking with Mike Szukhent. He's the president and CEO, Michigan Festival and Events Association. Just a couple more minutes here with you. We do have some festivals that are right now still planned for November. Do you anticipate they're going to happen, not happen? And how much of an impact is this having on tourism right now for the state of Michigan?
Oh, it's having a major effect on tourism. Those hotels that are still open taking reservations are 70% of what they would have normally been on this calendar year. Then there's those that decided that they couldn't open because they couldn't get help, couldn't open because they couldn't do what's necessary for the health and safety of their community. I've been touring the state of Michigan for Michigan Festivals events, and it's kind of interesting. A lot of the hotels, you don't get a hair dryer, you don't get an iron, anything that has those touch points is not available. Forget about continental breakfast in the morning. That's unheard of. So yeah, everybody's got challenges with this. It's the tourism industry is definitely taking it on the chin. We're all taking it on the chin, but it seems like the tourism industry, and when you get into festivals and events, anything that has a touch points. I mean, the carnival industry. Most of your festivals generate the most amount of revenue from the carnival. Carnival can't participate. They can't. It was not feasible for them to wipe down every single ride after a person got off the ride. It was impossible to do that. So what is that going to do for 2021? As I said, hopefully medicine will take over for that.
Mike Szukhent with us. He is the president and CEO of the Michigan Festivals and Events Association with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Mike, just before we let you go, you do have an event, speaking of Michigan tourism, a big event through your association coming up in November. What can people expect from that event, as we're a few months out from it, but that's coming together as that's a big event each year for the tourism industry in the state of Michigan?
Oh, and thank you for bringing that up. It is a huge event. It's our largest event of the year. It's the event that all the festivals and events come to get the education, the training, how to navigate grants, how to navigate social distancing, how to handle all the different aspects of a festival event, where you find the new ideas. And we've always had it at a resort somewhere around the state of Michigan, and we decided this year, because of COVID, it wasn't going to be practical to have that reservations at a convention center. So we're going to be doing it virtual. We're going to be doing it virtual on November 6th and 7th. It's going to be an interesting event because we're going to use the positive that 2021 is going to be a new year, and it's going to be a banner year because everybody's tired of being cooped up, and the entertainers and the keynote speakers and the breakout sessions, we're going to be able to get people from all over the country to participate with the magic of Zoom. So instead of having the people getting in an airplane and flying to a location and booking hotel rooms and stuff like that, we're going to be able to do this all live. It's going to be awesome. Is it going to be the new norm? No, it's not going to be the new norm. Will we offer it as a hybrid in the future? Hope so.
We've all become Zoom experts during this. Real quick, you have about 30 seconds. Where can people find that information? Do you have a website or Facebook page?
Everything for festivals and events in the state of Michigan can be found at www.michiganfun.com, because at Michigan Festival Events, we're all about having fun.
And we all like a little fun, and we all need a lot of fun after surviving this pandemic. So Mike Szukhent with the Michigan Festival and Events Association, we appreciate you being with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for your time. And we hope everything goes much better in the future as we continue to navigate this. We have just about a minute left here, Tyler, on the show. Thank you to Tyler Keefe once again for allowing me to kind of sit in the seat over here. Thank you to all of you for having your patience with me as I try to learn to push a few buttons here and there and not mess up too badly. It is kind of a dance behind this board here, Tyler.
It is. It is. It's a lot that goes into the show that we try to do our best to make seem as seamless as possible for all of you watching and listening. But it's definitely a challenge, and you've done a good job so far, Ronnie.
Yeah, he's just being gracious, but I haven't. He's had to take over quite a few times. But once again, we want to say thank you to everyone for joining us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Once again, we are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as we are joined with all people throughout the state as they continue to help us navigate this COVID-19 crisis here in Oakland County and the state of Michigan. And again, if you missed us, you can always tune in. Go to civiccitytv.com. You can watch the full megacast, or you can also go ahead and tune in there and just watch various clips if you just want to hear from Coach Bellamy, maybe what he had to say, or from one of our other guests. We'll have those up a little bit later today. But again, you're watching and listening to Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. You can always watch us on Channel 15 on Comcast and Channel 99 on AT&T. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe, and we appreciate and say thank you to everyone for joining us on the Oakland County Megacast.